Alright, let's discuss if you should read that enormous, huge, very big, very complicated text in the reading section. Should you really do and read the whole thing? How do you do that? Let's talk about these questions. Alright, so here we have your text. Causes of ice ages, we have this very long thing, and it has a lot of very difficult vocabulary, a lot of very difficult words, and actually a lot of very difficult concepts. Especially if you are not really into science, then you're gonna have pretty hard time because all the texts are about science. It's physics, it's biology, it's chemistry, it's something that complicated, it's scientific. So, if you read the entire thing, if you read it from the first till the last word, and then you move to questions, first problem, you're gonna have much less time because you spend so much time reading the text, so now you actually have to hurry up answering the questions. The second problem, you didn't understand half of what was going on. The text was so hard. There is so many things going on, and now you have to answer the questions. You already forgot what was in the beginning, and you are actually not motivated anymore. You read this text, it was so difficult, and now you have to answer the questions, but you didn't understand what the text was really about. You understood some of the parts, but it was so difficult that you might start thinking, oh, I'm probably gonna fail it anyway. These questions are probably gonna be just as hard, and I just didn't really get half of what I was reading, and now I need to answer the questions. I just don't feel like I'm gonna pass it. I feel like I'm gonna fail. So we really don't want that mindset. If you just read the text and now you're moving to questions, we want you to be optimistic. We want you to be like, hey, I'm just gonna nail it now. I'm gonna answer all the questions correctly. We don't want you to read the text and then go to questions being completely pessimistic. Oh my God, this text is so hard. I'm not gonna answer the questions correctly. So how do we make sure that you stay optimistic and you stay ready to answer the questions? But at the same time, how do we make sure that you don't just skip the questions and then you spend forever trying to find the right information, and probably while you're trying to find the information you're gonna miss important points because you don't even know how the text works, you didn't read it. So we have to read the text, but not entirely, just to make sure that we are able to know where all the information is located. And then we need to move to questions, and while answering, we need to go back and actually find that information. So the key technique is the following. All the American texts and also all the texts that you will encounter in a college, so it's not just TOEFL, it's in the college also, are written with the same structure. And you, when you will be writing your essays in the writing section, and also when you will be writing your essays at the college, you're going to be using the same structure. So what is the structure? Here, we have the first paragraph of the text. And the first sentence is pretty important because it just starts the entire text. And then the last sentence of the introduction is the most important sentence in the entire text. This is where we have the thesis statement. During the past 1 million years, blah, blah, blah. This is the thesis statement. So we pay a lot of attention to this sentence. Then we have the first paragraph, and this first sentence of the paragraph, many different factors may contribute, blah, 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 is the heading of the entire information in this paragraph. So this sentence has to prove the thesis, they are connected, and also this statement, this sentence, this topic sentence, what we call them, it kind of sets us the idea of what will happen in the text. So perhaps in your culture, at least in my culture in Russia, we write it very differently. The author starts from somewhere and it goes and goes and goes and goes and finally reaches some idea. And he describes us the entire process. And at the end of the paragraph, they come somewhere, and this is a conclusion, this is the main point, and then they move to the next idea. So in America, it's vice versa. We take the conclusion and we put it at the beginning of the paragraph, at this very topic sentence. This is our conclusion, this is our main point of the paragraph. And then everything that is in this paragraph after this topic sentence is supporting the information in the topic sentence. It's details, it's facts that are supposed to prove what is written in the first sentence. So this is actually the journey. How did the author get there? But the conclusion is written at the very beginning. So, for us, in order to understand what is this paragraph about, what is the main idea of this paragraph, we only need to read the first sentence. If we read the first sentence, we already know what is going to happen here. We don't need to read it because we know what is there. So, first of all, we read the first sentence of the introduction, then we read the last sentence of the introduction. This is the thesis statement. Then we read this topic sentence and we get the idea of the entire paragraph. Then we go to the next paragraph, we read the entire first sentence, and then we have the idea of the entire paragraph because it's all written in the first sentence. We move to the next paragraph and we read the first sentence as well. These and other problems, blah, 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 ages. So we don't read this, but we already know what it's going to talk about. Then we go to the next paragraph, we again read just the first sentence. After we read this first sentence, in advantage of this theory, blah, 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 theory, we already know what is going to happen next. Then we go to the last paragraph, we again read the first sentence, and then we also read the last sentence. Nevertheless, blah, 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 the skeptics, because we want to know how did the text end. So what was the very final word? So we only read specific sentences. We read the first sentences of every paragraph, and we also read the last sentence of the introduction and the last sentence of the conclusion. After we did this, which is gonna be like 8 sentences from the whole text, we know everything. We know what was the thesis statement, what was the author's main idea. We know all the arguments that the author used because we know all the main ideas of every paragraph. So now, if we have a question, we can easily know where to look for that information. We now see, okay, scientists accepted the Milankovitch theory even though, I know where in this paragraphs, in which paragraph they talked about Milankovitch theory and how the scientist felt about it. So we go specifically to that paragraph and we already know where to look for that information. So this really helps us to, first of all, navigate throughout the text, to know all the main ideas, to know all the thesis statements, all the topic ideas, and also to save a lot of energy and time to answering the questions. Because if we only read 8 sentences and got the entire idea, hey, we're really optimistic, we got it. Now we go to questions and we feel great answering them. And now the text becomes really easy because you already know everything you need to know from this text. You only skipped some details that you didn't even need to read, and you can read these details again after you already know why. So you have the question and you know why you read these details because you need to answer this specific question. So this strategy of reading really helps you nail every TOEFL text. So go ahead and use it. And also another advantage of using this specific trick is that you have some of the questions which are more difficult. They are worth more points and they are specifically asking you about the summary, so the main idea, the topic sentence, the thesis statement, and they ask you in this question to choose only the main ideas and not to choose the details. So let me show you this question. This is how this question looks. You see that this question is worth 2 points, and we have this bold statement here. Scientists have proposed several methods that birds use for orientating themselves during their seasonal migration. So this is another text. It was about birds and their migrating. And here we have 6 sentences, and we need to pick only the main ideas from the text. And we cannot pick those sentences that were details. So how do you think? Which sentences do we pick? We pick those sentences which were the first sentences of paragraphs, right? Those that you read. Those that you read were main ideas, so that's why we pick them. Those which you didn't read, they were in the middle of paragraphs. We don't choose them because they were details. So that strategy really helps you answer that question because you already know which sentences you should be looking for. So this strategy is very useful in reading the TOEFL text, so really go ahead and use it with every text that you have in TOEFL. It will save you a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of mood. Thanks for watching.